I was lucky enough to watch Conclave at the Toronto International Film Festival this year, and it was in my top 5 anticipated movies of that entire festival. And that was based entirely off the premise alone, because it follows the cardinals who are responsible for electing the new pope and all of the politics that are involved with that entire process. And it's directed by Edward Berger, who recently did the most recent All Quiet on the Western Front adaptation. And even though I was very interested in this movie based off the story and the talent involved, I was also pretty nervous because I feel like on paper, Conclave sounds like the type of Best Picture nominee or even winner where the movie just feels very Oscar baity. It's not really loved by critics or audiences, but it talks about an important subject and it just feels like an overall fine movie, but then it wins Best Picture and then everyone starts shitting on it. And then for the rest of time, for 50 plus years, we start complaining about how a movie like Conclave won Best Picture. And when you hear that premise, it really is easy to just sit back and be like, man, I do not want to watch the movie where they vote for a pope. Like, I could totally see why somebody would think this is going to be something you would watch in class. And I understand that perspective. I was in a somewhat similar boat, hoping that would not be the case. But after watching this movie, it is very clear that to everybody that said that Edward Berger was going to disappear after All Quiet on the Western Front, he made it known with this that he is sticking around for quite a while. Because Conclave is not only a great movie, it is an exciting movie. I know a lot of people complain about All Quiet winning Best Score at the Academy Award because even though it was good, it was kind of just the same note played over and over and over again. And I do think Conclave is guilty of the same thing, but man, as soon as you hear the score, in the first 60 seconds, you are put in the spot of these people and you're like, wow, shit is about to go down. And I don't think you need to know a lot about Catholicism or how any of this voting stuff works, because I think the film does a great job of sort of setting up the different dynamics from the get-go. It does a great job at presenting the different factions of cardinals, but it also does a really good job of painting the stakes of the situation. Because this isn't like an election where you could pick somebody every 4 to 8 years and there's different parties. This is, we're gonna vote on a guy and he's gonna be in that seat until he dies. And it makes it super exciting. And at the same time, I liked how the film didn't really present everybody as really black or white or everybody as super evil or super great. It just looks at each of these guys as people. And nobody is perfect, but there are a lot of people that are a lot worse than other people. And we start to discover this through Ralph Fiennes' character, who is leading this conclave through the voting process. And we slowly start to discover why some of these guys probably shouldn't be the pope. Some want power, some are trying to hide some scandals, some don't want the power, but they don't love somebody from a different country being the pope, so then they start to scheme as well. I'm not the first person to compare this to House of Cards or Game of Thrones, but it definitely does feel like it's in that same kind of vein in terms of political drama. So if you're into that kind of thing, this is the best version of that in terms of pope voting, I guess. They address a lot of issues you would expect this to kind of touch on going into a movie like this, but they also bring up some things that I wouldn't have thought about previously. But I do think this movie does a great job at playing the field in a very fair way. It makes some choices that will definitely piss some people off, but I do think the film handles the story with care and respect overall, while also not being afraid to criticize when needed to. And I do think we live in a world where other filmmakers would probably want to play into one side of an audience instead of just feeling like it's an open conversation for everybody to come in and have a healthy debate about things. And I think Conclave succeeds at that. And also the performances are great. No matter how well known the actor is or isn't, it just feels like everybody is doing a great job all across the board. Ralph Fiennes is really good here, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. I still haven't seen a lead acting role yet though, where I've been like, man, this is the guy winning Best Actor at the Academy this year. But if he did win for this role, I wouldn't be mad at all. Just like how if Adrian Brody won for The Brutalist, I wouldn't be mad at that either. All I'm saying is I don't heavily prefer either of those performances to the other. I also don't have any real negatives about Conclave at all, but I was talking to my friend Zach from the Aircut podcast. We were at the same screening and had the same following screening, and on the way, we were both kind of in agreement that even though every individual scene of Conclave is great, it does feel like it's maybe missing one more incredible over the top wow scene. And I do think that is an important thing for a movie to have. It's like when you walk out of Sicario and you go, holy shit, the dinner table scene. Or you walk out of Sicario and go, oh my God, the scene at the border was insane. And I'm not saying Conclave needs hitmen or anything like that, but I do think the movies that end up being the best of the decade or the best of all time do have at least one or two wow scenes in them. And a lot of the movies that will probably not be as thought about 10 or 15 years from now that are still great are always usually lacking a scene like that. And to be fair, I don't think 90% of the movies made have a scene like that. It's a very hard thing to pull off. But when the rest of the movie is as good as it is, that's the only thing I could possibly think of. I just wanted that one thing, that one extra sort of piece of icing on top of the cake. That being said, this was not only one of my favorites of the entire film festival, but it was also one of my favorites of the entire year so far. And I am going to be very surprised if by the end of the year, it is not in my top 10. It is out in theaters right now, and I highly recommend you go check it out. If this feels like a shorter review than usual, it's because this is a segment of a much larger video that I've put on the channel already, kind of reviewing my entire experience of the Toronto International Film Festival this year. I saw about 37 movies, which is absolutely crazy, and I talk about all of them in that video. Some of these are the biggest Oscar players of the year, some of them are the best horror movies of the year, whatever it is. We talk about a lot of movies in that video, so a link to that full video will be in the description here. But if you just want to see the shorter reviews that keep coming out over the next week or two, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those reviews that drop. This is also all of my social media right here, so if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. I check the Letterboxd the most. I haven't been as active on this because I've been working on this video and so many other projects over the past month, but I love talking about movies on there. So if you want to keep up with what I'm watching, be sure to watch that. Also, shout out to Reed for being so patient with me and helping edit all these videos and getting all these exports out. So if you need help with any editing at all, be sure to hit him up. He will absolutely help your videos out a ton. Be sure to like these videos, whether it's this video, the Long Toronto video, they all help me out a ton. It helps more than you think. I know a lot of people ask for you to hit the like button, but it helps me pay Reed to help me keep editing these videos. So if you won't like it for me, like it for Reed. And be sure to comment down below. Have you seen this movie yet? If the film has come out, what did you think of it? If it hasn't come out yet, are you excited for it still? Did my opinion change? I mean, this outro is going on the end of all my videos. So with this specific movie, I don't know if I loved it or if I hated it, but you know what? At the end of the day, a day talking about movies is a good day. So I'd love to talk to you in the comment section down below. And that is it for me. So this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks.